On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle, continuing on our series of Law of One. Here's session 13, recorded January 29th, 1981. I am Ra. I greet you in love and light of the infinite creator. I communicate now. Questioner. First of all, I would like to apologize for asking so many stupid questions while searching for what we should do. I consider what we are doing to be a great honor and privilege to also be humble messengers of the Law of One. I now believe that the way to prepare this book is to start at the beginning of creation and follow through the evolution of man on Earth, investigating at all times how the Law of One was used. I would also like to make as the title of the book, The Law of One, and I would like to state as the author, Ra. Would you agree? I am Ra. Your query is unclear. Would you please state as a separate query each area of agreement? Questioner. First, I would like to start at the beginning of creation, as far back as we can go, and follow the development of man to the present time. Is this agreeable? I am Ra. This is completely your discernment, understanding, decision. Questioner. Secondly, I would like to title the book Law of One by Ra. Is this agreeable? I am Ra. The title of the book is acceptable. The authorship by vibratory sound complex Ra is, in our distortion of understanding, incomplete. We are messengers. Questioner. Can you state who, then, should author the book? I am Ra. I can only request that if your discernment understanding suggests the use of this vibratory sound complex Ra, the phrase, "an humble messenger of the Law of One," be appended. Questioner. Thank you. Can you tell me the first known thing in creation? I am Ra. The first known thing in the creation is infinity. The infinity is creation. Questioner. From this infinity, then, must come what we experience as creation? What was the first step? What was the next step, or the next evolvement? I am Ra. Infinity became aware. This was the next step. Questioner. After this, what came next? I am Ra. Awareness led to the focus of infinite into infinite energy. You have called this by various vibrational sound complexes, the most common to your ears being logos, or love. The Creator is the focusing of infinity as an aware or conscious principle called by us as closely as we can create understanding learning in your language, intelligent infinity. Questioner, can you state the next step? I am Ra. The next step is still at this space-time nexus in your illusion, achieving its progression as you may see it in your illusion. The next step is an infinite reaction to the creative principle following the Law of One in one of the primal distortions, freedom of will. Thus, many, many dimensions, infinite in number, are possible. The energy moves from the intelligent infinity due to first to the outpouring of randomized creative force, this then creating patterns which in holographic style appear as the entire creation, no matter which direction or energy is explored. These patterns of energy begin then to regularize their own local, shall we say, rhythms and fields of energy, thus creating dimensions and universes. Questioner. Then can you tell me how the galaxy and planetary systems were formed? I am Ra. You must imagine a great leap of thought in this query, for at the last query, the physical, as you call it, is universes were not yet born. The energies moved in increasingly intelligent patterns until the individualization of various energies emanating from the creative principle of intelligent infinity became such as to be co-creators. Thus, the so-called physical matter began. The concept of light is instrumental in grasping this great leap of thought, as this vibrational distortion of infinity is the building block of that which is known as matter. The light being intelligent and full of energy, thus being the first distortion of intelligent infinity which was called by the creative principle. This light of love was made to have its occurrences of being certain characteristics. Among them, the infinite whole paradoxically described by the straight line, as you would call it. This paradox is responsible for the shape of the various physical illusions, entities you call solar systems, galaxies, and planets of revolving and tending towards the lenticular. Questioner, I think I made an error in getting ahead of the process you were describing. Would it be helpful to fill in the great leap due to the mistake I made? I am Ra. I attempted to bridge the gap. However, you may question me in any manner you deem appropriate. Questioner, taking the question just before the one I asked about the galaxies and planets, and tell me what the next step was from there. I am Ra. The steps, as you call them, are at the point of question, simultaneous and infinite. Questioner, can you tell me how intelligent infinity became, shall we say, I'm having difficulty with the language, how intelligent infinity became individualized from itself? I am Ra. This is an appropriate question. The intelligent infinity discerned a concept. This concept was discerned to be freedom of will of awareness. This concept was finity. This was the first and primal paradox or distortion of the law of one. Thus, the one intelligent infinity invested itself in an exploration of manyness. Due to the infinite possibilities of intelligent infinity, there is no ending to manyness. The exploration, thus, is free to continue infinitely in an eternal present. Questioner, was the galaxy that we are in created by the infinite intelligence, or was it created by a portion of the infinite intelligence? I am Ra. The galaxy and all other things of material of which you are aware are products of individualized portions of intelligent infinity. As each exploration began, it, in turn, found its focus and became co-creator. Using intelligent infinity, each portion created a universe and allowing the rhythms of free choice to flow, playing with the infinite spectrum of possibilities. Each individualized portion channeled the love light into what you might call intelligent energy, thus creating the so-called natural laws of any particular universe. Each universe, in turn, individualized to a focus, becoming, in turn, co-creators and allowing further diversity, thus creating further intelligent energies, regularizing or causing natural laws to appear in the vibrational patterns of what you would call a solar system. Thus, each solar system has its own, shall we say, local coordinate system of illusory natural laws. It shall be understood that any portion, no matter how small, of any density or illusory pattern contains, as an holographic picture, the one creator, which is infinity. Thus, all begins and ends in mystery. Questioner, can you tell me how the individualized infinity created our galaxy, and if the same portion created our planetary system, and, if so, how this came about? I am Ra. We may have misperceived your query. We were under the distortion impression that we had responded to this particular query. Would you restate the query? Questioner, I am wondering if the planetary systems that we are in now was all created at once, or if our sun was created first and the planets later. I am Ra. The process is from the larger, in your illusion, to the smaller. Thus, the co-creator, individualizing the galaxy, created energy patterns which then focused in multitudinous focuses on further consciousness awareness of the intelligent infinity. Thus, the solar system of which you experience inhabitation is of its own patterns, rhythms, and so-called natural laws which are unique to itself. However, the progression is from the galaxy spiraling energy to the solar spiraling energy, to the planetary spiraling energy, to the experiential circumstances of spiraling energy, which begin the first density of awareness of consciousness of planetary entities. Questioner, could you tell me about this first density of planetary entities? I am Ra. Each step recapitulates intelligent infinity and its discovery of awareness. In a planetary environment, all begins in what you would call chaos, energy undirected and random in its infinity. Slowly, in your terms of understanding, there forms a focus of self-awareness. Thus, the Logos moves. Light comes to from the darkness, according to the co-creator's pattern and vibratory rhythms, so constructing a certain type of experience. This begins with first density, which is the density of consciousness, the mineral and water life upon the planet, learning from fire and wind the awareness of being. This is the first density. Questioner, how does this first density then progress to greater awareness? I am Ra. The spiraling energy, which is the characteristic of what you call light, moves in a straight line spiral, thus giving spirals an inevitable vector upwards to a more comprehensive beingness with regards to intelligent infinity. Thus, first-dimensional beings strive towards the second density lesson of a type of awareness which includes growth rather than dissolution or random change. Questioner, could you define what you mean by growth? I am Ra. Picture, if you will, the difference between first vibrational mineral or water life and the lower second density beings which begin to move about within and upon its being. This movement is the characteristic of second density, the striving towards light and growth. Questioner, by striving towards light, what do you mean? I am Ra. A very simplistic example of second density growth striving towards light is that of the leaf striving towards the source of light. Questioner, is there any physical difference between first and second density? For instance, if I could see both a first and second density planet side by side, in my present condition, could I see both of them? Would they both be physical to me? I am Ra. This is correct. All of the octave of your densities would be clearly visible were not the fourth through seventh freely choosing not to be visible. Questioner, then how does the second density progress to the third? I am Ra. The second density strives towards the third density, which is the density of self-consciousness or self-awareness. The striving takes place through the higher second density forms who are invested by third density beings with an identity to the extent that they become self-aware mind-body complexes, thus becoming mind-body-spirit complexes and entering third density, the first density of consciousness of spirit. Question, what is the density level of our planet Earth at this time? I am Ra. The sphere upon which you dwell is third density in its beingness of mind-body-spirit complexes. It is now in a space-time continuum fourth density. This is causing a somewhat difficult harvest. Questioner, how does a third density planet become a fourth density planet? I am Ra. This will be the last full question. The fourth density is, as we have said, as regularized in its approach as the striking of a clock upon the hour. The space-time of your solar system has enabled this planetary sphere to spiral into space-time of a different vibrational configuration. This causes the planet's sphere to be able to be molded by these new distortions. However, the thought forms of your people during this transition period are such that the mind-body-spirit complexes of both individual and societies are scattered throughout the spectrum instead of being able to grasp the needle, shall we say, and point the compass in one direction. Thus, the entry into the vibration of love, sometimes called by your people the vibration of understanding, is not effective with your present societal complex. Thus, the harvest shall be such that many will repeat the third density cycle. The energies of your wanderers, your teachers, and your adepts at this time are all bent upon increasing the harvest. However, there are few to harvest. Questioner, I would like to apologize for sometimes asking inappropriate questions. It is difficult sometimes to ask precisely the right question. I don't wish to go over any ground that we've already covered. I notice that this period is slightly shorter than previous work sessions. Is there a reason for this? I am Ra. This instrument's vital energy is somewhat low. Questioner, I am assuming from this that it would be a good idea not to have another session today. Is that correct? I am Ra. It is well to have a session later if it is acceptable that we monitor this instrument and cease using it when it becomes low in the material which we take from it. We do not wish to deplete this instrument. Questioner, this is always acceptable in any session. I will ask my final question. Is there anything we can do to make this instrument more comfortable or aid in this communication? I am Ra. It is well. Each is most conscientious. Continue in the same. I am Ra. I leave you in the love and light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one Creator. Adonai. Another great session, without a doubt. One thing I really like about where we're at in the whole Law of One material is we're starting to get into the differences of densities, and this to me is fascinating. The concept of Wanderer 2, it was something that I always sort of felt like maybe I'm a part of. It was definitely something that always felt very similar to what I'm going through, and I had a reading many years ago that I was what's called a walk-in as well. And that seems to fit a lot of my memories and understanding of how life has played out. So again, a lot of very interesting things when we started to get into the densities and how we perceive the world around us. And for those of you that are fellow wanderers, you probably are much like me, where you constantly look around at people and you're like, why is it they don't understand? They don't get it. And that is the difference between the, quote, old soul and the young soul. Or, to put it in another way, someone who comes from a higher density, not necessarily dimension, but it can be. But someone that comes from a higher density can very well have a much larger understanding of how the Law of One works, for one, but two, how balanced energy works, how love and light work, how service to self and service to others work. At density 6, service to self and service to others come back in on themselves. To my understanding, and I think Law of Ra talks about it, Law of One talks about it, third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension is where all the service to self and service to others exist. After that, or dimension 6 on, it becomes one path. You are both service to self and service to others. And so many say what we do to another, we do to ourselves. So again, it's exciting how we're starting to get into some of the differences of density. And just to cover them real quick, and this is super cool, I think. First density, I don't remember exactly what it is, and he doesn't describe it really well, but the second density, reaching for light, is one of the coolest things because that is one, like plants, obviously, but the other is pets. Pets are in that second density, and we are the third density beings. When you have a pet or a pet dog, pet cat, we are the third density being that is basically sponsoring them into the third density. So these pets, and that's why they've kind of got that humanization about them, if you will, or that like they're a soul, and it is. It's because they're a second density being that now has a soul, that now has self-awareness, and is now ready for the third density. So when the harvest occurs, or the graduation, or whatever, they will transition to the third density and live out their next set of lives in that density. And some of us, those who don't graduate or those who don't get harvested, will continue the third density. It's no big deal. It's just one more cycle. I don't know, like 75,000 years or whatever the heck it is. It could be longer. There's cycles within cycles within cycles. But that being said, it's not the end of the world. We do this because we enjoy it. We like the third density. It's a place where you can experience pain and fortune and happy and all these things. It's a place where everything has an opposite. And it's a very interesting, unique place in the universe. Most things are everything. Most things are all in one. It's plus and minus together. But in the third density, we've got them broken apart. There's a positive and there's a negative, and we can experience them individually. And it's a very unique environment. So hopefully we'll continue on. Session 14 shall be coming soon. I will do my best to try to get it recorded as soon as I can. But hopefully you're enjoying this discussion and this travel down the Law of One. I love this book. I've read this thing a number of times. It's my first time trying to create videos for it, obviously, but freaking love it. This stuff is so good. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And we've got, again, more great Law of One videos coming. And if you're into manifesting and all that great kind of stuff, that energy and energy work, I've also got a channel called Dan RadioStyle that gets heavily into that. So thank you for joining me. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.